Graham Jason Matthews here with the Bleacher Report ahead of the upcoming show LFG on A&E this coming Sunday, February 16th. One of the hosts on the show alongside Booker T, Bubba Ray Dudley. We're talking to the Undertaker here today. Taker, how's it going? Coming off your Super Bowl appearance the other day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, my Super Bowl appearance. I wish the Chiefs had made one. Oh my God, it was horrible.
Still enjoy yourself regardless?
No, the experience was amazing. That was the first Super Bowl that I've actually gone to.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really reluctant to. I always like, man, there's no better seat than the couch, and but I
Mhm.
wanted to experience it once, and that was just it was incredible. The game was what it was, but I didn't have any skin in the game, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Well, just to be there for it was cool, I'm sure. And obviously, at one point in time, that would have been unfathomable to see The Undertaker, obviously, at a Super Bowl. And obviously, since then, so much is different. You're on this show as a host, which again, we would never have seen 5, 10, 15 years ago. Is
Right.
doing stuff like this, even talking to you right now, we've talked before, and it's always a great time to talk to you. But as far as like doing media and stuff like that go, are you kind of used to it at this point? Like, are you something more of a media person now, or do you kind of keep to yourself still?
Well, I think that's my role now
Yeah.
is more of a media person. Obviously, there's nothing left in the wrestler sponge. We got everything out of that we possibly could. So this is just kind of the next iteration of the Undertaker. This is Undertaker 2025. I'm an open book, and I'm talking about everything that I protected for all
Hmm.
those years. But it's cool. I've laid that I've laid that old school persona. I've letting it rest in peace. People ask me all the time, man, I'd love to see it one more time,
Yeah.
but it's gonna it needs to it just needs to lay there and let that be what it was, and this is what you get moving forward.
I know that you talked about that recently on your podcast as far as every appearance you make going forward, whether it be for WWE or otherwise, will be as the American Badass. Obviously, we saw that in the Raw Netflix debut last month. You've probably talked about this before, but what has been like the closest that you've come to coming out of retirement? And maybe not coming out of retirement, but at least being tempted to be like, man, like just to put on the boots one more time. Has there been a moment like that for you in the last 5 years?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's been several moments. Once you know, so I had this realization during the Boneyard match. That's when I knew that I was done.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I don't know, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and we're filming, and like I noticed that I can't stand up straight anymore, and so it's just like I had that moment, like, dude, you're done. So but even so, even though I knew my body was done, I still had to mentally um process that, because inside I would be out there today if I could. And it's just it is what it is. But again, Father Time is undefeated. um so yeah, there so once you go home, and then you start replacing body parts and thing, and you start to feel better, and you're
Hmm.
training good, and you're eating good, and it's like, maybe, right? And
Yeah.
no, and so you play this battle with you have this battle with yourself, and yeah, I finally it really just become. I mean, I knew it all along from the moment that I realized that I was done. Like you can't,
Hmm.
because anything that I do moving forward damages the legacy of all the work that I put in. And you'll go online, and you'll have people still to this day like, "Man, just one more match, just one more match."
Of course.
And um, I don't want to, and I've probably had two or three one more matches that I shouldn't have had. Um, but it's just like people remember win,
Hmm.
and that's what they expect, and that's what I expect. If I was to be able to go out, I want to, every time that I went out, like, I expected to perform.
Hmm.
And it's just not it's just not there, and I don't want to become or be a parody of myself. Like, I would hate, and I've told this story too, or this used this analogy of some dad who grew up watching me, and now he has kids, and they watch wrestling together, and it's just like, oh man, we got to go see the Undertaker. He's going to be
Hmm.
in, Undertaker's going to wrestle, and then you get there, and I'm a shell of my former self, and then it would kill me to know that this dad is like, well, yeah, but you should have seen him win, right?
Yeah.
And that's I don't want that. I'm comfortable. I did everything there was to do in the business. I don't have anything left to prove. I don't need so I've come to grips with the wrestling part of my career being over, and now here we are, this newest iteration where Undertaker talks and cuts up and jokes and interviews people on his podcast. I mean,
Yep.
who had that on their bingo card 10 years ago?
Yeah, certainly not me. I mean, listen, because you came back out of retirement a couple different times from like 2017 onward, I was there for the Mania 33 match.
Let me
Eh,
stop you.
Go ahead.
Now, I didn't ever really say that I was retired. That was
Correct.
perception. That's
Yep.
perception on people's part. Now, I did put when I put the boots, the gloves, and
Yeah.
everything on, I was done.
Hmm.
And obviously, I got talked out of that, but for one match. But that was that one I'll give you.
Yeah.
But since I've said that I was done and retired, I haven't gone back.
That is true.
Now continue. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just need you to clear the air.
No, not at all. You're absolutely right. But I was going to say, because you came back after that match at 33, we got a great documentary out of it. That Last Ride documentary with all the different times that you came
Right.
back and stepped aside was phenomenal. WWE does the content stuff better than anyone. We're going to see that with this LFG show. You're a part of it, like we were talking about before. You're teaching the next up and coming wave of talent in WWE. What do you, Taker, what do you think makes a great future legend in WWE? What's the definition of a future legend in WWE?
Uh, it's never changed. It will never change in the business. You have one thing that you have to be able to do, and that is resonate with your audience. You have to either make them love you or you have to make them hate you. If you make them care, you've won. And that's the biggest thing. That is the absolute biggest thing. If you're going to be a future legend, they have to care in the character. And I think that's kind of one of the bigger problems that we have. It's getting better because we are getting some good storytellers now, but there's such a uh, there a lot of these young wrestlers are relying so much on their athletic gifts that they're not learning how to tell stories.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot because you have all this in you, all this natural physical ability, but there's only so far you can push that envelope and make them care that way. So I had a pretty decent career with 5 moves, but I evoked emotion and made people care one way or another. And
Yeah.
I think that's how you become a legend.
I think a lot of people would say too, arguably the greatest character of all time in WWE pro wrestling history is the Undertaker. And we've seen more characters in recent years as well. In the last couple of years, we've seen a real shift of the product kind of enhancing stories, long-term stories. The match that you were involved with at WrestleMania last year, the Cody Rhodes finish the story thing was one of the best long-term stories the WWE's told in the last 5, 10 years. When you talk about, like, I know you watch the current product, you talk about it in your podcast and talk with current talent and stuff like that. You talk about that making people care. I talked to Bubba Ray Dudley earlier today. He said the exact same thing, making people care. And when I asked him what he feels might be missing from the current product, and they're doing a lot of things right, he kind of made it sound like the genuineness that he wants to see more genuineness on TV. We see a lot of that lately. Jey Uso was out there crying last Monday, did a fantastic job of that. He makes people care. He's genuine. What do you feel is missing from the current WWE that they could be doing more of, aside from just the athletic stuff that you were talking about before?
Yeah, it is. It's getting everybody on board with trying to figure out what the story is that you're
Hmm.
trying to tell, and then investing in it. And there's just certain things that when you're storytelling, there's certain things that even though it is a wrestling match or it's an angle or a story, there's certain times where everything transcends it's not about the wrestling anymore.
Hmm.
Sometimes you got to punch somebody in the mouth, right? You don't
Hmm.
need to you don't need to do a running bulldog or a flying super DDT or something like that. There just comes a time in a story where you need to sit in a pocket and punch somebody in their mouth because that's what you would do, right?
Yep.
And I get, I get everything has to be exciting, but I think when people get invested, like they did in the Cody story with Roman, like they were doing a whole lot of crazy stuff. Roman doesn't have a bunch of crazy stuff in his
No.
repertoire. He does a few things, he does them well, but it was you believed that he believed he was the tribal chief. That I don't think there's anybody that can deny that. Yeah, no, that dude's yeah, he believes it. And if he believes it, everybody else is going to believe it. So if you don't have that ability to believe in yourself and
Mhm.
believe in the story that you're telling, I don't know how you're expecting millions and millions and millions of other people to believe it. And we are we're getting we're really starting to get some people that have that ability, and we need more, obviously. But I think as as people see the and watch and study what Roman is doing and Cody is doing and Punk does and Gunther is another one. And now Jay's hit a whole nother level of connection with the audience.
Mhm.
I just that's the thing that I got to. It's great to be athletic and it's great to have all that skill set, but man, if you can't make them get those feels, you are you wasting your time.
I mean, it goes back to when you hear the gong hit, when you hear the glass shatter, it makes you feel something. Like you connect to that character or that person coming out, and it has that mystique about that person. Even today, especially with social media, it's kind of hard to have that mystique. The Undertaker had it for 30 years on WWE television. With today being what it is with social media and whatnot, like I said, it's hard to kind of capture that mystique. In the last couple of years, we've had people like Bray Wyatt before he passed, had that mystique. Roman Reigns is on another level as the tribal chief. He comes out and he has that mystique. Aside from those individuals, has there been anyone in the last few years or even now that you see in WWE that has maybe not has that same Taker mystique from years ago, but comes close to that level that you were at many years ago?
Um, eh, but just look at it I mean, as far as characters, I don't think there's really anybody that's, I mean, that was a dark supernatural character, but
Yeah.
just go back to the Rumble, a week or so ago. Charlotte comes out for her entrance.
Hmm.
Everybody else has has the running entrance. She comes out. It's like, is there any doubt in her mind or anybody else that is the queen, right? She that everything that she did says I'm the top of the food chain, and it's like whether social media, if you follow that, I mean that's ridiculous. Like, I mean, it's so stupid. But in the moment, in the moment of her entrance, it's like, wow, it's like it's incredible.
Hmm.
She has that presence and that aura. And I mentioned Gunther. Like he is another one that is somewhat close to kind of living his gimmick.
Hmm.
He makes a guest spot on LFG, and he changed the whole dynamic of the show that day, even with the coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, he has that kind of presence. So I know it can be done. I wish, and it's so easy because we talk about everybody's smart, right? Everybody's smart to the business. Everybody knows everything. It just again, just go online. You just start reading comments about
Sure.
any certain thing, and there's all these experts. I wish that maybe and I'm putting myself like, what would I do in 2025 I don't know that like the original Undertakers it'll be on social media, but we'll say this iteration, right? The American Badass.
Yeah.
You know, I would live my gimmick through
Hmm.
social media. I mean, it just that's the content that you would get, and you would think like, okay, this dude just rolled out of some biker bar, yeah, and now he's fighting off a buzz and he's on social media. I mean, that's the way I would approach it because I think as smart as people are, they are the easiest ones to work if you really want to make the effort to do it.
Do you think there's any
That's
benefit?
going to be that blurb right there will be all over everybody's.
Well, going off of that, I feel like there obviously it's easy to kind of poo-poo on the internet and everyone has an opinion and it's all negativity, stuff like that. Do you feel as someone that's experienced it all that you have any benefits, whether it be you personally or just the business itself, any benefits to social media or the IWC as it's called, dirt sheets sort of, I mean, dirt sheets is kind of an old term, but we're talking like wrestling news websites and stuff like that. You're shaking your head, no, explain, Taker. I want to hear your reasoning.
I don't know. I could care less.
Okay.
I was so I was so dialed in to what our product was and where I was going and what I
Yeah.
wanted to accomplish. Um, I love our fans. I mean, we have probably the greatest fan base uh, that there is. But I think they got put over so much they actually believe that that you know that they really are the decision makers. And obviously, we want to make our fans happy. But it was just like the other night when Punk didn't win the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
People lost their ever loving mind. I mean, like, oh my gosh, Cena didn't win, or Punk didn't win, so now Cena's got to win. And when Jay goes over, who I think is as over as anybody right now, everybody, oh, they just can't believe it because they've cried for it for so long, right? Oh, Punk's got to win the Rumble. He's got to go on. Dude, it's January. We got we got we got to get to the elimination chamber. We got to do all these things before we get to WrestleMania. Now, just now, by saying that, look at the chamber now. Cena in the press conference goes out and he doesn't do a press conference. He drops a statement, right?
Yep.
He drops a statement. What's best for business is John Cena wins this title. CM Punk now has to win the Elimination Chamber to get his match at Mania that he wants. So I mean, it's already the show. It's already better, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen, and that's the thing. Just sit back. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I
Sure.
guess social media is that's what it does. But man, don't try and don't try and book the shows. You could, I guess, when I say that, it's like that's part of what the lure of social media
Yeah.
is. Like you can give your opinion, but
Hmm.
man, it comes with such vitriol and hate and everything else is like, oh my gosh, this guy's the worst. They start ragging on Paul, like, oh my gosh, he don't know what the hell he's doing. Get Vince back, and it's like, holy shit, man, give me a break. Sit back and enjoy the ride.
I think the internet might be the biggest rival of your career, Taker, hearing you say that.
Man, I've never been a fan, really.
I understand.
I just, I was really late to the game. I don't even think I had a social media account till what 2018 or 19.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah, and I just, yeah, that's not the way I operate. I don't. That's not where my feedback that I follow comes from.
You don't need to follow it. You're the goddamn Undertaker. You're going to be on LFG this coming week, and you're a legend as well, Taker. I appreciate you taking the time coming up on A&E this week in February 16th. Always a treat to talk to you, Taker. I appreciate you taking the time and stay off the internet. You don't need it, all right? You can go off and do your own thing. I appreciate you talking today.
I'll go play video games. How about that?
What's your video game? What's your go-to video game?
I don't play video.
Oh, come
Madden,
on.
Madden. There you go,
Yeah,
Madden.
hey, that's a good pick.
Yeah, that's it.
Good stuff.
That's about all I got.
Totally fine. We'll enjoy Madden, Taker. I'll talk to you next time.
All right, man. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Bye.